back, everybody. We are in our head-to-head when it comes down to the double dose of Oklahoma Christian beating the last team they played, Illinois State, and the Redbirds 3-0 in pretty convincing form. Actually, it's very convincing form outside of the search and destroy. Now they've got their chance to go flawless in the group and obviously put them into a #1 seed position out of Group G here in the Western region if they could find a way to beat LA Tech. But on the other front proper, Louisiana Tech is not out of the running for potentially sneaking into playoffs here if they were to find a dub.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, if they were able to win versus Oklahoma Christian, they're in, unsettled after beating Crimson Gaming just earlier today. But with a loss here, Alan, they have to hope that Crimson Gaming not only beat Redbird COD, but they have to either do it in a convincing 3-0 sweep or only allowing one map to go through. So there's a lot of conditions to be set for the Bulldogs out of Louisiana Tech to be able to find their way in towards the double elim bracket.
Yeah, we don't really have the full report on how exactly Louisiana Tech had fared against Crimson Gaming in the individual maps themselves, as it's not updated on our challenge at the moment. But yeah, we can at least report the W. So that's the big key here, is you could possibly set yourself up for a 3-way 2-1 tie here if you were able to win. Otherwise, you're kind of dealing with a situation where you lose and you're out. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Going 1 and 2 would not obviously be good enough, you would assume. So with that in mind, let's take a look and get to know Louisiana Tech, since, or at least, look at the head-to-head in particular here for both of these two teams, as obviously we kind of saw the respawn dominance on display by Oklahoma Christian in their last series. That has not necessarily been the case, though, all year long. We're on the other front. The respawn has been also very good for Louisiana Tech for the most part. 16-5 on the season. They boast a very good control record. This is all, of course, from the regular season. And their hardpoint is also pretty solid as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you're taking a look at Louisiana Tech, the Bulldogs, if you will, have had themselves a pretty fair season. I mean, they've done really good against other top quality teams, and most importantly, that comes down to both maps 2, 5, and that ever so wanted control. 13-3 is a very good record coming out of the regular season worth of play, Alan, given the fact that if you go down at least 1-1 as far as the series is concerned, you at least can guarantee yourself to have a really cool running going in towards control. Can always swing the decision-making when you're going in towards that map number 4.
Should be a fun one. So now let's take a chance to actually know the roster here for Louisiana Tech. Obviously, we just saw what happened with Oklahoma Christian, so no real need to go back over their roster, and I think a lot of people's minds. But for Louisiana Tech, they've been this weird bubble team pretty much all year long, where a lot of people were still kind of holding them in the regard that we kind of had during the Cold War and Modern Warfare years. But this year, it's been a bit of an interesting kind of journey. Obviously, they still find themselves as a very realistic top 25 team in the CCL. Whole Troll is back with Will again, but Sampy and Reese have been really kind of fulfilling a solid role for this squad. I think the biggest thing is that consistency versus top squads has not necessarily been there.
Yeah, you go back towards split number 2 and versus other top cut teams. The 0-3 loss versus Akron, losing to Redbirds in 5 maps twice on over. Keep in mind, losing to the Fighting Illini as well, are all losses that LA Tech are going to be almost thinking about going up against this Oklahoma Christian roster, whether they were watching or not, just staying warmed up, not really worried about who they are going up against. This is a very battle-tested Eagles roster, so the Frogs have to be out not only in chat, but they also have to be there for Sam to be able to hold down those longer lines of sight, knowing that there could be flanking SMGs, and Lord also knows any sort of flanking antics that the ARs were also showing throughout the entirety of that best-of-5 series versus the Redbirds.
Yeah, take a look at the maps to see how things will unfold for this best-of-5 series. The biggest question is, what are going to be the respawns? Because that was kind of a hot-button issue for Oklahoma Christian. No Gavudu this time. And we're going to get 3 Tuscans off the get-go with a Bacage hardpoint to follow and a Berlin search if we need it. Obviously we saw what Oklahoma Christian was able to do in the Tuscan control. But anything maybe kind of poking in your mind here when you consider the Tuscan hardpoint or search and destroy for the first 2 maps?
Well, for the Tuscan hardpoint specifically, this is where your SMGs need to come out absolutely swinging, specifically looking at you, LA Tech, because we already know, at least from Oklahoma Christian's standpoint, that the subs are warm. That is something that we know for a fact. Their ARs are also going to be there as well. But where you might be able to outpace them and kind of offset any sort of tempo antics that Oklahoma Christian were able to find for themselves, even on that Gavutu hardpoint, and specifically on that Tuscan control in the early goings of the rounds, it has to be here on the Tuscan hardpoint, specifically for your SMGs, to be able to come out strong and to be able to find any sort of answers early.
All right. Well, we'll see how things kind of unfold here. Obviously, for Oklahoma Christian, they were riding a hot hand out of Wisdom in the opening. Gus as well looked really, really solid.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it feels like one of those days where if they're playing like that all day long, how do you possibly find a way to beat these guys? But the thing about it, and I think a larger kind of maybe narrative over this season for Oklahoma Christian, is that expectations have largely been missed. So I don't know. It'd be a hell of a time to build consistency. That much is for sure, getting ready to go for playoffs. But I still think that there are some susceptibilities and vulnerabilities that from Oklahoma Christian have shown itself before. And maybe that does lead to an opportunity for LA Tech to get involved and possibly find an upset and maybe try to sneak away a playoff spot.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, how high is the skill ceiling honestly go for Oklahoma Christian? The Eagles have certainly come out of the gates flying versus the Redbirds, but how is that going to fare versus Louisiana Tech? The Bulldogs, we know for a fact, can always at least hold their own versus some other top-quality teams, but we were raising the question, bringing up the stakes to the grill, and starting to set them on at least one side, that this Oklahoma Christian roster, they can continue to play with what we saw from those 3 maps versus the Redbirds. I generally don't know who's going to beat them until we see that double elimination bracket.
Yeah, that's for sure. But here we go. Opening nades over the top as we dig on into it. And an opportunity for LA Tech off the favored side, maybe set up some early dominance. But once again, it's Wisdom on a long route around the back that has gone completely unchecked. He'll be able to tally up a first kill. Contestants for the Bulldogs, they actually want to try to eliminate him quickly, and they will get what they want. A full spawn flip, full control after the full 4-man feed, and 18 seconds worth of early time here for the Bulldogs.
You couldn't have asked for a better start for the Bulldogs. Again, as you were saying, they got exactly what they wanted. They cleared away the backside of Church. They hold strong inside of the hardpoint, but now they have to battle from inside of the hardpoint to be able to keep these Eagles players at bay. You also have at least Wisdom, again, going for a very long route. That was at least being looked at off screen, but Holtroll tries to turn around, expecting for a push to come through over by Lawn. Close spawns for P2 will still be there, but Reese on this force spree was at least able to keep this 35 seconds intact for the Bulldogs.
We'll see how things kind of go here as we rotate over to P2. Oklahoma Christian kind of on the back foot, if you want to call it that. But working around, maybe an opportunity. One more elimination, 2 flip spawns. That should do the trick, as there's only just Sampy in the way. And they've seen him. Okay, so LA Tech are going to give up the play for the hard point for now, looking to recover spawns. It's a risky play, especially considering that Gus is watching this in the back, and he will also get the read that, yeah, indeed, LA Tech are playing around the back, but a double pinch hit comes through as LA Tech will also find a way to neutralize time on the hill. And honestly speaking, for the Bulldogs, they've done pretty well to stop Oklahoma Christian from getting a lot of success on the second hill.
Yeah, at least you are keeping this at least marginal, but you still have to deal with a lot of players that are nearby here on 2, and LA Tech, they kind of go for a double-edged sword play. They're trying to influence the rotation while also setting players to try to finesse for a little bit of time going back over towards 2. They're unsuccessful at least on one of those fronts. They can't finesse for the scrap time, but at least you got Sampy in over by P3. But the spawns aren't there anymore. You saw Gus work their way down over by the rooftops, trying to at least hold the space for now. But unbeknownst to them, you still have Will watching the P5 exit.
That's going to be the biggest thing here. Although, Gus? Oh, I was about to say, he nearly sneaks behind this, but Sampy gets blessed as Gus will walk right in front of the fire that was going Dez's direction. So Oklahoma Christian a bit on the outside looking in here for P3. Still early days, though. Holtroll, realizing the pressure is more than he can actually respond to, tries to back away. Nothing there in Oklahoma Christian. That's a clean break and spawn flip as they will take their first lead of the map.
And Wisdom just found kill number 7 in a row, so a glide bomb has already been gathered for Oklahoma Christian. A big tool to be utilized. Gus is still going big in the middle. The map swaps to the wrap pistol. Will find Will as well. Middle of the map has been opened up, and that just means that LA Tech simply cannot work their way across the map and battle for some scrap time. They have to hold the line and just hope that they can get this setup going for a strong one to potentially get in a lot of time going into 4.
Big gunfights here through P5, and LA Tech are actually doing a really nice job of kind of holding the line, so to speak, as they're in a good spot to freely get time at Church. But Oklahoma Christian are starting to work their way forward, and look at the spawns for LA Tech. Oh my goodness. They are all the way out towards P3. Not great news. I think a lot of people would have expected them to be towards the back, but with how far forward they were trying to zone the hard point, it just led to a blocked situation, and Oklahoma Christian will say, thank you very much. We'll take 2 of those to go.
And able to work their way in almost scot-free for at least contested time. You don't need to fully break this. You don't need to get convincing time, because you can see LA Tech are still spawning in essentially for this hard point. But so long as you're able to keep it contested, you're so long able to keep it scrappy, you're still going to be able to keep this 50-point lead going in.
Oh boy. Not great news here, as Oklahoma Christian are starting to build some significant margins in the mix, including Wisdom on 5. And if he gets streaks, the lid just may completely be blown off this map. But it is going to be a dicey P5. LA Tech with numbers here first. It's really just Gus for the Eagles that is in a position to try to contest this. And the nades coming through have actually kept LA Tech from finding secure time, nor the ability to really push forward and zone this hard point. But Sampy with the double may have just allowed the opportunity for the Bulldogs to start making their move. But as they do, it's Oklahoma Christian who respond. That is a 2v4 situation, well handled by Wiz and Gus, and that leads to another break favoring the Eagles.
Maybe it's just Wisdom and Hardpoint, an iconic duo, if you will. 15-4 now for them. Still holds that glide bomb in their back pocket for a resource. The 2v4 comes through, as you were saying, to at least keep the opening time contested for the time being. 25 seconds still to battle over here on P5. And you know, LA Tech want to at least try to influence their numbers here. They have players in towards the staircase. Sampy at least was stunned through that doorway, trying to get this trade onto Death, and they will be able to find it. 15 seconds will be conceded here for Oklahoma Christian going in. They want to try to influence a strong rotation going in towards another set of hardpoints. They already have that leader's advantage down. They can afford to do so.
Oh boy. Key moment here for LA Tech. Have to get something on rotation. And even though they do kind of clear out and exit, they're not in a position to contest the middle of the map as of yet. Oklahoma Christian all over that. First 2 kills will tell you exactly that for 100% confidence. Holtroll in the back is kind of left on his lonesome, and interestingly enough, I was about to say maybe Wisdom doesn't actually get a read on where he's positioned, but LA Tech spawned on the opposite side, so now it's on to Gus to try to hold down the hard point, and he's done well. He's single-handedly pushed back 2 members. Will, though, trying to follow up in good patience, executed by the Bulldogs, as they will have an opportunity to contest.
And it's this right here that you needed from Will to step up to the plate and really offset any sort of tempo that Oklahoma Christian are going to be looking for, but it's just not strong enough. Even finding that 2-piece, the rest of LA Tech are still strapped over by Vines. As you were saying, the ARs are just locking players down. You don't need to find all the kills, but good damage is going to keep them at bay. Wisdom inside the corner of you had a good look at another 3-piece, but 2 will do just fine. 5 seconds that are still intact here for P1, and the kills and trades are still there for Oklahoma Christian. You have the Bulldogs still spawning over by 3. This should be a guaranteed initial 20 seconds here for 2.
Has to be. And that, once more, is not good news for LA Tech. That just run into the pre-fire of ball. They get doubled down, and the Bulldogs will have to kind of put a pause to this inevitable hit. And honestly, they've lost the opportunity to play for spawns. This has to be a successful break only from the front. And as Holtro will fall, the attempt is largely squandered, and that was just a little bit too independent, wasn't it? Oklahoma Christian with 33 seconds to play with here. Honestly, actually, they may get that final tick, allowing them just to win the game here.
You get to just flood through the top patio side. It's Wisdom that's inside the hardpoint. Finally, the break comes through from Sampy and Ultra, but Dez is still playing the corner, finds another 2-piece. Dez in this position over here is just almost uncontested. It is canon that Dez just goes big in this top radio, bottom staircase continuously. 21-17, working themselves up a couple of streaks. It's 237 v 98. They will soak up the scrap time. To say that you got to play flawless for LA Tech, I mean, that might just be a mountain too steep to climb.
Yeah, but it's just after a first 2 pretty solid hills from Louisiana Tech, too. It's just 3, 4, 5, nothing to write home about, and Dez is looking diff right now. Dude, this kid is dirty. 23-17, 7 kills on a row is what he'll end on, and Oklahoma Christian. Yeah, dude, they're, this is, like I've said it too many times this evening, but this is the team we expected to see week 1.
I mean, how can you not continuously say it? Because going back towards that week number 1, you're like, yeah, just think about these players just on paper alone. You and I were pulling up all the spreadsheets that we use when we're talking about challengers and everything of recency going back to Modern Warfare, and they just get absolutely worked on, even by that Oklahoma State roster. And we're like, okay, so something's clearly not clicking here. Now it's starting to click in playoffs, and go back to the point that you were bringing up, better late than never at the beginning of the broadcast for this Oklahoma Christian roster to finally come into their own, to feel comfortable with one another, to be able to run amok through their group as well. It is just crazy scenes when you're thinking about it. The stats will also show exactly what we're talking about when we're just gassing up these players, because you're right to talk about the opening break for the first 2 hard points that we had here on Tuscan. Looked great for LA Tech. They won the opening break off. They won the rotation going over towards 2. But then something had flipped, specifically for Wisdom and Dez, and Bala was right there as well, 21-15 with about 2,600 damage, that they were just nearly untradeable. 17 untraded kills, 16, 18 respectively for Dez, Bala, and Wisdom. The SMG presence, the pace differential was truly felt following away from 3, 4, and 5 on the opening set.
Yeah, that's for sure. My goodness.
Whew.
It's just another map where I feel like I'm doing a disservice, because what else is there to say? It's just so many. I would say the thing about it, it's not just that they're winning by a lot. It's the fact that how many different moments in the early portions of that first rotation were we sitting there saying LA Tech has the setup, like they have exactly what they could possibly need, and Oklahoma Christian did everything to break perfectly. Obviously it helps when everyone is gunning the way that they are at the moment, but it's just the mentality that they're putting into how they want to break hard points, and then even better, how they're holding hard points has been flawless so far this evening.
Yeah.
So good stuff from Oklahoma Christian. You have to be impressed by it.
I don't know how you can't be at this point for Oklahoma Christian. I mean, just to build off that point you were talking about, they had the setup for three. You had one player all the way in towards the back. They were close towards that half-wall head glitch, but you had too many players for LA Tech almost invested for the push coming through from L over by Vines, and they get snuffed out. Again, the spawns are down by the rooftops now. You would feel that LA Tech need to at least send one more player to at least stop that push that came through, and Eagles just found a clean break. Same thing, 2v4 for P5 when you have the initial setup on the top side of maps, and you also had a player on the staircase. These are just things that simply cannot have happen as the Eagles continue to build off this momentum. I mean, they're already guaranteed to make that double elimination bracket, but they're making the road for LA Tech that much more less likely to say that the destiny is not in their hands.
All right. Well, map 2, Search and Destroy. We stay on Tuscan naturally, not just for the first two, but also for the third. And I will say, I think when it comes down to trying to evaluate Oklahoma Christian Search and Destroy tonight when they played in a Bacage, maybe a little too loosey-goosey at times. A couple of the trades that should have been confirmed that were not. So I would say that a map like Tuscan will demand a little bit more discipline than a map like Bocage. At least in how the initial engagements are being taken, or I guess really the initial moments of any engagement, how those would be taken. You can't just go and run forward and expect to win the map like that, as you kind of maybe could for a map like Bacage. So I'll be curious to see if there is going to be an extra layer of discipline here for Oklahoma Christian to make sure they're not just getting too over-aggressive or missing out on chances that are right in front of them.
You would almost hope so, that Oklahoma Christian were going to be able to at least exemplify some semblance of a playbook, maybe that they at least are saving something in their back pockets ahead of the double elimination bracket. I don't think it's really that deep, but even still, with the players that are at least representing Oklahoma Christian University, that you would at least have some semblance, especially on a tried and true map mode combination that is Tuscan Search and Destroy, where you have so many different cross angles to worry about in the middle of the map. Set nades and suns are going to mean everything, playing off the information that will be gathered and rotating in those 2v2 situations where we try to commit over towards A or B. It just needs to all be there for Oklahoma Christian. Look, they're probably going to end up looking pretty darn strong, at least as the gun skill is concerned. But if LA Tech continue to play as strong of a Search and Destroy, if we have ended up seeing, even in a round 11 loss just last week versus the Redbirds, they have a lot of good understanding as far as what needs to be set up, what needs to be looked at, where the crossfires need to be at to be able to shut down any aggression antics.
All right. We'll see. I think a lot of it can be tallied off of, as you mentioned, those early nades, information game. Can you potentially find something there? And then, of course, use it. That's that's kind of the biggest thing. It's not just finding the information, but using it. So we'll see. It'll be Oklahoma Christian on the offense first and foremost. Dez will be the designated bomb character, and, well, he's going to actually make a play with two others towards B. So Balla, as he just tries to create noise over towards the A side, it's going to be on Sampy to defend this B push. And honestly, with that forward bit of presence, Oklahoma Christian's going to have to hit kind of a little bit of a pause, as you just don't know what's behind Sampy, and that turns into an opportunity for LA Tech to dominate the middle of the map, leaving it just to Gus.
We'll find at least one top fire that's going to reveal their position more than anything, but you see where the bomb is dropped is up over by that well staircase, so Gus needs to make a play happen. Now, they do have ample time to do it. Needs to allocate at least 5 seconds for the bomb plan if they can fish out one of these players. But Holtroll and Reese are playing very isolated away from each other. They don't know where Gus might have been rotating towards. It could give Gus isolated 1v1s, though, to try to clutch up the round.
We'll see. Biggest thing is he does need to get the bomb to play off if he wants to have the probability meter kind of rise a touch more. And this is a bold, clear, and the timing may be unbelievable. But no, he misses his opportunity. Now they meet, and well, there's a second player behind. You wouldn't expect that he was going to be able to get both. But it's LA Tech with the numbers, surviving and taking the first map. The first round here in the map.
We just went back in time. They just won the first map. Here we are. But yeah, I honestly respect that call that's coming through from both the 1 and then the 2 especially, that you had one player at least watching the entirety of the P5 push. Nothing came through, so you at least have to back all the way down. Holtrell Reese, they needed to get back together and at least try to play at least for the trade, that if you end up getting overwhelmed, at least the trade would have been in there for them. But great defensive opening round for LA Tech, just shutting down any aggression through the middle of the map. Gus will find that first blood. There's a lot of folks in the middle of the map for OKC.
It's just the same kind of stylistic choices that Oklahoma was making on the Bacage are starting to really crop up here in the first defense of the Tuscan. Get aggressive, take away space. But the thing about it is, once you have those numbers, you have to be okay with holding the ground. Because the round is going to slow up. You're not going to get all 4 kills in 30 seconds. It's just not going to happen against a team like LA Tech. So at least Wisdom will be punished for trying to take maybe one step too far. But the question here is, how do you get this bomb into a position to do much of anything? And honestly, Sampi just gets a ton of information off of those shots that were being thrown over towards Holtroll, and he's going to get right behind Dez. First gunfight is good. Now all of a sudden we went from a 2v4 to a 2v2. Holtroll over the top. Nearly gets a chance to take down Balla. But things will reset, and instead, he will find the backside of Gus, and this looks very doable. It's down to Balla for a 1v2.
And they know his last known position, so that's going to be the call out. Sampi needs to clear away the top side of lawn, but Balla is making the mantle play to get up top radio. He might have a good angle, not to deny this plant, but to get a nice little exit from Holtroll.
Oh, Balla's gotten the first. And he's going to choose to stick, and that will be the end. My goodness, a 2v4 for LA Tech to get round 2, and it's early, but those are the rounds that really start to kind of foil your opportunities later on in this playoff run. And I won't say it's the same things that happened to Bacage, but similar things were happening to Bacage, where you just get the good engagement, but then you just overextend too far beyond it.
And you give a good opening for any clutch potential as well for LA Tech. Again, as you were saying, that there were some shots up top. Church that maybe might have been able to benefit a kill, but then you try to over-aggress him towards top fire, and you give such an easy position. Goss this time around will find first blood on the Sampi. Again, middle of the map is the main focus for Oklahoma Christian, but a nice set nade from Reese will even it up 3v3.
Oh, nice response there from Gus, keeping his teammate in Wisdom safe, who was on literally the most critical of health points. So once again, numbers advantage after the 3v3. Turns to a 3v2. Nade's coming out. I don't actually believe Reese connected with that. So he doesn't have the opportunity to challenge the bomb plan, and as he backs away, he leaves Holtroll to die. So now it's Reese for a 1v3. Wisdom, the first contestant. Backside Church will be all that's required for Oklahoma Christian to finally get on the board.
And the aggression pays off. Again, they find the information. They get the kills in the middle of the map. They press all the way through, and they keep numbers in their favor, dodging any sort of nades. And even if that kill doesn't come through in the top side of Church, you know where that last player is going to be located at for the Bulldogs anyway. So you just have to hold the angle, play the post plant, and it should be an inevitable round win for Oklahoma Christian. As you were saying, there seems to be the comparisons galore for Oklahoma Christian, no matter the search and destroy map. They just want continuous pressure through the middle of the map, but they need to be more disciplined going forward. Again, 3 players looking through the middle of the map. Balla with the boomstick finds first blood.
Oh, but the counter nade was very well placed. Wisdom through the middle of the map, though, once again, setting the aggressive tone defensively. That will play. 3v2 now. Oh, but Sampi, is there more magic here for the Bulldogs? In 2v odd man situations, it's a 2v4 last time around, 2v3 in front of them here, and they will get a read on where Wisdom is positioned. And with how far forward Sampi is, they're going to have an opportunity maybe to get a bomb plant and just play off of that if Sampi could stay alive. And he just narrowly slides away from the gunfire, allowing an opportunity for LA Tech to get onto A.
I don't even know if you feel comfortable to plant this bomb for Will, so they're actually going to try to put themselves underneath the broken part of Church and maybe see if they can catch any players trying to push all the way through. But Wisdom, Gus, they're doubled up together, and they're going to try to go and completely flip out the map.
It'd be interesting to see if LA Tech has the awareness to know where that nade was thrown from. Will seems to expect to play through well. And, oh, the double up kind of comes through, a little transfer, and then underneath the windowsill. It's a 1v2 in the end, but largely a 3v2 that's saved by Gus.
Yeah, it really is. It's all saved by Gus. Where you thought that both players were maybe going to come up through the well staircase together, the nade comes through. The information might have been gathered, but regardless, finding that first kill on the Wisdom stops the mid-map aggression to continue all the way through. But you then start questioning yourself at LA Tech. where they were settled up on. There was no pressure coming out from top church, no pressure coming out from top lawn. Where's this last player going to be located? Gus makes the wrap happen, top fire, puts themselves in that end position, and puts themselves on a 5-3, 2 kills away from the glide bomb, Alan.
Oh, look at this play. Through the A site. But the thing about this is, no one's cleared mid-map. And we're not really hitting this together. Bala will, for the most part, keep the play alive. But Gus on 5 was never a part of this play, nor was he watching the mid-map. And so now it's just really down to how do you maneuver this 1v3, and the answer is you don't. So, man, I do not like that call from Oklahoma Christian. Are we playing for streaks or are we playing for aggression? We can't really do both.
It's either you're aggressively playing for streaks, or you're just making an aggressive push all the way through the backside of grass. But I feel like if you're the Eagles going forward, you're going to be selling yourself, and it's like, well, I mean, that's why we always just hit for the middle of the map. The middle of the map is where Sampy was able to find that very unique timing, puts themselves up at 7-3. You stopped Gus from getting themselves the glide, and this is kind of a big comparison to what we saw from the Redbirds do. You had one Oklahoma Christian member getting themselves closer towards streaks, and they make a very bold call to get aggressive, not through the middle of the map, and then they lose any sort of opportunity. 2-2 split. Dez is watching this angle, and Reese still drops down to the well. Very early 2P, so give numbers advantage for OKC.
Okay, as much as I'm starting to be annoyed by Oklahoma Christian biting off maybe more than they can chew offensively, LA Tech needs to start realizing that Oklahoma Christian's going to force a fight mid-map. And with numbers. Like, we can't have people dying with both nades still in hand. Sampy. Okay.
All right.
All right. Nades coming forward for Oklahoma Christian, trying to put this round out of reach. But Sampy has kept the play alive for a time, but does not expect a quick challenge through the rooftop. So, a sloppy search so far, but a tight one nonetheless.
Very interesting, though. I mean, you just feel like the play call off the early rip just did not need to be there. Again, this comes down to the same thing we were talking about for Illinois State University versus the Eagles, that you need to start reading the tendencies for the Eagles.
Yeah,
they love playing the middle of the map. Continuously, besides one round, you always have players trying to force engagements to the middle of the map.
And that's just as easy as throwing nades. One player, throw both your nades mid. That's it. That's all you have to say. And, oh boy, whoa. Interesting gunfight here at A-Long. Oklahoma Christian will quite literally storm the beaches through it. And LA Tech. Okay, so this is what this design should have been last round, where you have 3 players committing, and then Gus that could set up a delayed pinch, but as he gets challenged mid-map, now, really, if you're LA Tech, you just have to play containment. Just keep them back here. There's nothing you can do from this position if you're on the offense.
Reese can't lose gunfights in this position. He's in the win condition spot, at least sees one. Now the rotation needs to be here from the more players from LA Tech to be able to reinforce the patio side.
And they do not expect this player through P5. You see Wisdom is obviously considering that this could be an option. Turns nearly, gets the shots off, but Sampy will get away with the kill. And that leaves Dez on his lonesome. Yeah, and all right, let's throw that 3-man hit through A off the playbook, because that's 2 not great rounds back-to-back offensively for Oklahoma Christian.
But you gotta at least respect the call. Look, we didn't do it well the first time. Let's go ahead and try it again. But if they do it a third time, I might rip my man bun clean off my head. Because again, it's just not working. You delay the pinch. Again, Sampy finds a timing. They didn't find the first blood that time around, Alan, but they immediately just hit over by L. They find just one player lurking over there, and they're able to continuously have the numbers in their favor. So, 1-round lead here for LA Tech. Oklahoma Christian send, you guessed it, players through the middle of the map trying to dissuade any sort of antics for LA Tech to try to get this A-bomb down today.
Yeah, but this is already a little bit different for LA Tech. You've got now significant control top side of the A fields where you could hopefully get your guns up to watch mid-U, but nobody really checks it. Balla stays alive through the nade spam to get a snipe off. But a team nade will keep things interesting as we go to a 2v3.
Oh, Wisdom had a good look to maybe find that second. Didn't know that Reese was going to be right around the corner. 1v2. And Balla, Gus, I mean, they're posted up. Balla also has the boomstick, so they're watching all of the middle of the map, and Gus is expected to watch the entirety of the flank, but Reese actually slipped right underneath the scope of Balla. Needs to collect the bomb and try to extend this round.
Yeah, the thing about this, though, I think you have to play retake if you're Oklahoma Christian. With a sniper rifle in play, you just don't want to be in a position to where you're trying to chow out forward and contest a site that may not be there. And, oh, what a fight that is. Reese just jumping through bunks. is able to actually sidestep away from where Ball is positioned, but is the timing going to be good? No, it will not be. Balla will not miss from that easy window looking down towards the staircase, and Oklahoma Christian keeps this a tied affair through 8.
Yeah, and again, you love that call that's coming through again. In a 2v1, they have the numbers advantage. Just play for the retake there. Again, Fastball had the Car 98K, so they can't exactly get aggressive. They can hold a very aggressive angle looking top church over towards top fire. At least the trade might have ended up being there, forcing out a 1v1 situation. But even more so than that, LA Tech need an answer for the middle of the map antics. Wisdom is getting away with highway robbery through the middle of the map continuously. You would feel like it's only at 6 and 7, but it's really enforcing numbers advantage early. Nice gunfight. Top church will at least get numbers early for LA Tech.
Countered back, though. We go 3v3 early on. And, ooh, Holtroll has snuck forward. He has just made sure that no one is planning at A, and he's going to actually move a further step towards mid. U does not expect that. Its Wisdom will fall. So the numbers stay even at a 2v2. And the isolation of Holtroll is successful. So it's up to Reese, rotating from B. He does have an angle from topside church here, and he's seen Dez, but yeah, I was going to say, careful there, friend. You got an MP40. The automaton will make you eat your words if you try to challenge that. And he's completely stuck now.
I don't think anybody from Oklahoma Christian ended up at least saw him go down, but the bomb's going to get planted. Gus is in the position to almost play against this. Reese does find the first as he get out with his life. He sure will. 28 seconds, and also ends up throwing his shoulder, sees Gus. And you know Gus got that early damage. He's trying to chase the kill.
Absolutely, and why not? But Reese very wisely runs back, resets. And Gus may have a read here. Yeah, I know he's not in his spawn. He's either going to be top fire or backside well. And he plants accordingly if that were to be the case. But now Reese makes the cut through U. Timing onto Gus is decent, but Gus doesn't miss a shot. And Oklahoma Christian, 2 rounds in a row on map point.
Again, that trade comes through very, very quickly to force out a 3v3, but from there on out through the middle of the map, it just feels like Oklahoma Christian are setting up shop. That's where their Eagle's Nest is located at, continuously just waiting for more antics for LA Tech. And even if trade shots and crossfires galore come through from LA Tech, again, you just always feel like the Oklahoma Christian will always have the better read on the situation for any 2v odd situation. No clutch antics are continuously coming through for LA Tech. Map point now for Oklahoma Christian. It's going to be on defensive round. 2 players looking to get through the middle of the map. The way that ball is positioned almost feels like that they have a boomstick in hand. 3 players strong, or LA Tech trying to force their hand over by A.
Oh, and again, this is the same setup from Oklahoma Christian. Deep through mid. Wisdom gets shut down. And LA Tech is just going to try to wait out Oklahoma Christian to see if they can force a mistake. Dez will see 1 cross. Has he seen the head of the player in the corner? Sure has. That's going to be a free kill. Knows that there could be a second contestant nearby. Holtroll has the angle, but Reese will be able to get the kill easily. And the numbers will stay with LA Tech even more so as Balla falls mid-map.
That's for the 1v3. Bomb being planted over at A. Stun will not connect onto Gus. They should be able to find a free kill in towards the back. It will take more bullets than what he would wanted, but the kill will be there. But the information is mutual. LA Tech potentially know where Gus is located at.
And they can just play this crossfire location. Set 1 player up to play point of contact, the other to play clutch. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Holtroll is the player playing contact. And then Will go topside fire if required. Oh, and the windows will break. I was about to say, that was nearly a chance. You give Gus any sort of information, he will absolutely smoke you, and nearly does. But we've got ourselves a round 11. Will clutching it up right there in that last gunfight to get us here.
Almost had a complete read on the situation. Just a bit outside was the snap, but
Yeah.
Woo! You almost fell for a second there. I'm sure I did too. The Gus 12 and 6 almost had a really good read that they could have at least gotten that kill, but time was going to be the immediate problem going forward. It will be an offensive round, round 11 for Oklahoma Christian. Bet that they're probably going to be looking at the middle of the map, but 3 players are actually flooding through the A lane. All didn't end up actually seeing Sampy is in this contest spot, and how could you? Nice timing out of Sampy.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. You've got 1 player up top on Will who's kind of keeping him safe, but now all of a sudden Sampy is a bit stuck. Stuns will come through. Reese rotated to try to get his teammate out of dodge, but it's not going to work out. So a lot of commitment to that play through mid for LA Tech. And in the end, it actually does work out nicely for him. Gus wants the gunfight and gets put down. Is that an ace from Reese? He got 3 at least. Those last 3 came through. And LA Tech will take away the round 10 and round 11 to get us tied up at 1 apiece.
Woo! Wasn't the full-on ace, but I gotta tell you, Reese did something a little magical there in that final round. You love the team play that's coming through from LA Tech. They either hit something together, they set up the crossfire with one another, or they end up at least, all willy-nilly just dropping down over towards ball into a crossfire and dying together. But even still, nonetheless, winning 2 rounds on the bounce like that, they did a fantastic job at least shutting down the mid-map push that was constantly coming through. On the offense, again, it was mostly Wisdom that was trying to, initiate that first blood affair through the middle of the map continuously.
Sure, yeah.
LA Tech understood that, and especially on their offensive round, they just sent one player to play in the back position over by L, expecting that Wisdom was coming through. Lo and behold, there comes Wisdom. They get that first blood, and then they just set up the crossfire, expecting what we have known and noted throughout the entirety of the day, that this Oklahoma Christian squad loves to get aggressive, and they got caught with their pants down more often than not, forcing out a 1v odd situation for Gus, probably in more rounds than they wanted to.
Yep, great adjustments coming through for LA Tech as we look back over the game stats overall to see who did what. And Reese in the end, that's that final 3 that he gets 11 and 7 with 1,200.5 damage. Great search and destroy out of him. Then on the opposite side, Gus did everything he could. All of those kills that felt like came in clutch situations, as you had mentioned, and was also good in the first bloods as he tallied up 3 of those as well.
Yeah, about 1,800 damage. I mean, the only player that was close to them on their own team was Wisdom 8 and 10. A lot of their engagements came, you guessed it, through the middle of the map. And once you ended up getting that understanding, we were talking about it back about like round 4, maybe 5, that LA Tech, they need to realize what we were calling out after round number 2, that Oklahoma Christian loved to play aggressive through the middle of the map. Once those nades, those stuns started to come all the way through, shutting down any mid-map antics, the next problem arise, that it was Bala across that A lane. They were able to stop that dead in its tracks, and from there on out, it was Reese, Sampy, Flex, and AR alike, able to play those longer lines of sight, play those timings, and be able to find themselves those first bloods, continuously thwarting any sort of aggression, any sort of antics that OKC were looking for, and continuously getting numbers in their favor through the end round.
Great stuff. But with that, we take a look at the map set really quickly because we're tied up at 1 apiece, 2/3 of the way through our Tuscan spree to start us off. And we have guaranteed a Bacage hardpoint where who knows what could happen there. So the possibility of a map 5, you feel like, is definitely there without question. Just comes down to what happens to the Tuscan control and who wins the swing. We'll head off to a break, come back with map 3 right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We've got ourselves a 1-1 map count between Louisiana Tech and Oklahoma Christian. Largely speaking, for Louisiana Tech, this series means the rest of playoffs or the end of your season. Win it, you're in a great position to secure a top 2 seed in Group G and likely make the double elimination bracket. Oklahoma Christian has pretty much already locked themselves a position with their 2-0 count that they've already put together. Obviously, could be some 3-way tiebreaker situations that we haven't fully considered, but for the most part, LA Tech, it's still a must-win series, and a good search and destroy, at least in the last couple of rounds, puts them in a position to maybe just do that.
Maybe so, but the problem will still arise going in towards this Tuscan control and then the inevitable Bocage hardpoint for map number 4, Alan, is that the pace differential coming away from that Tuscan hardpoint that started off this best of 5 series in between the Bulldogs and the Eagles was quite prevalent, apart from the opening rip that the Bulldogs ended up piecing together. If you allow the Eagle squad to get an inch, they will quite literally fly a mile over you. It doesn't matter any 2v situations. It doesn't matter if the opening rip looks just as good. The same thing we were talking about versus the Redbirds in our opening matchup of the evening. This Eagle squad can put together 2 or 3 pieces at the blink of an eye.
Well, we'll see what goes on here because Oklahoma Christian was not just good throughout all of their individual offensive rounds. They were also clutch in a number of different key moments to get themselves their control win. And Louisiana Tech, just statistically through the regular season, has also been a very good control team. So really what we're getting at here is this really could be anyone's map, honestly speaking. So big map here overall, not just overall towards the series, but of course towards potential playoff implications as we had just mentioned. So that's kind of what's on the line here. Trying to look back to see if we have gotten ourselves any results. No, still haven't been updated as far as what Louisiana Tech did versus Crimson Gaming and that Utah squad, which is what Illinois State will be playing up against right now. That's also a must-win series for them if they want to have a chance to get into the double elimination playoff bracket. Other than that, though, some other reports that have come through. Arizona State, they took everybody 3-0 in their group in Group F. But the rest of that group is really kind of up for grabs. Purdue Northwest, Longhorn Gaming, They have to play up against one another, and that actually will determine who the second team out of Group F would be. Any thoughts on that potential matchup?
I honestly think that that PNW can put up a really strong fight versus the Longhorns. I mean, we've seen the Longhorns on stream before. You know, they just walked away with a 3-0 win versus University of Toledo. But that PNW roster is one of many different rosters that I've always kept a close eye on ever since Split 2 had started for us. They've progressively been getting a lot better, Alan. I mean, you almost have to assume that all three of those teams will probably end up losing to Arizona State University as they did. But even more so than that, amongst themselves, it's going to be an absolute barn burner to be able to see, which is going to be the second team to come out of that group specifically.
Other results that have kind of been confirmed here in the last couple of moments. Group E has locked in likely their two teams that are going to be going. Texas State was able to come out as the #1 seed. That's guaranteed. Looks like Bowling Green has forfeited their way out of playoffs, and the only match still remaining would be LSU versus ICC. I think everybody would bet ICC on that one, so that's likely to be who your top two are there. Other series that we're still waiting on what's going on with Group D, which is a barn burner series overall, but New Mexico State losing to the Illini out of Illinois Urbana-Champaign means that New Mexico State is for sure out. Still waiting on results from Colorado and Ohio State, and then a possible play-in match, I guess you could call it, between the Illini and the Buffs out of Colorado. Any thoughts about Group D there proper?
I think it would be a very strange playoff bracket for both you and I, Alan. Over the past few years, did not see the Fighting Illini in a double elimination playoff bracket over the past few years. But this Colorado Boulder roster, ever since last year, they've been coming a little bit different. You know, had some couple missteps here, fell off their hoofs as it may end up beating. But they're going to have a tough matchup versus the Fighting Illini, to say the least.
I hate you.
I hate me too. It's fine. The fact I said that one with a straight face, too, yeah.
Other things as far as results, these are confirmed. Westcliff did 3-0 the Mavericks, so we talked about that one in Minnesota State, how that one may look, but Westcliff handled business. They will get out of Group B with St. Edwards. Everything else still yet to be fully determined, but I think expectations are probably pretty assumed for most people if you've been paying attention to the CCL so far this year in the Western region. So that's kind of what's been unfolding on the other groups. And now we get into map #3 here. Swing map, LA Tech looking to take an advantage, but we already know what Oklahoma Christian can do. They definitely have the clutch up ice gene when it comes to how they've played control so far in the day.
Yeah, let's just say this much, that if you see Dez inside a radio, do make sure that you do get that kill, because if Dez is hanging out top radio, defense or offense, like, he's probably going to end up getting a 4-piece. You got to get that kill. Wisdom in the middle of the map, going to try to set up a little bit of a flank play. The opening rip again was good for the Bulldogs, as it was for the Redbirds, but you got to deal with the flank as Wisdom starts off the round hot.
Yeah, this is great news overall. And once again, Wisdom just keeps hitting these little cheeky routes. The timings are perfect through mid to get these pinch plays set up. And now the recovery of the B zone is the next thing up defensively for Oklahoma Christian. Easy kill there for Wiz. Turns, looking for his teammate's trade, no problem. And simultaneously, they stop the second tick of progress from being locked in. Reese, though, does create a bit of a lifeline. Louisiana Tech off the respawn, looking to play back over towards Ann as they shut down Wisdom. It's looking good for an opportunity to get some multiple Bulldogs onto this point.
Yeah, and the stack needs to start coming all the way through to at least guarantee these 2 ticks of progress. You need to constantly be worried about your flank, because if Wisdom's not back there, here comes Gus from behind looking for a couple of spawn kills, but we'll catch some unfortunate timing as Will clean up that kill off the spawn. Flight stack is in. Reese is able to deal with Bala over by grass, and now you just can see this if you are the Eagles. Get control of the middle of the map. Don't allow any Bulldog members to get in the backside of church.
And overall, even though Wisdom had a nice, impressive moment to get things going, I think if you were to tell the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs that, hey, you're going to capture A and get a 1 tick progress at B with still 2 minutes plus to play with and a life lead, they'll take that every day of the week. So even though Wisdom's individual play was nearly enough to completely squander the attempts to Bulldogs, this is looking like a very good setup when it comes to evaluating how the offense has been put together largely for Louisiana Tech.
Media control looking at radio. They have one player in towards the back. That's going to be Reese. That pinch play needs to be activated sooner rather than later, especially knowing that Wisdom was still up in top bunks. He will activate himself, will find 2 kills, and well, that'll just completely put away this push for sure. But they did walk away with the first tick of progression. That's good steps in the right direction. As you were saying, they have ample time to try to make this offense happen.
But Oklahoma Christian is getting right back into the mix defensively. They've, at least at some points, neutralized and negated any life lead that's occurred. And they've already taken about 60 seconds off the clock without even giving up even an inch of progress towards this B zone. And for Louisiana Tech, you've got to start putting something together. Everything right now has been really trialed getting over towards P5, and Wisdom's in a position to at least go 1 for 1 here. There's the opener. Pre-fire for the second, nearly takes down Hold Troll, but that does at least open up maybe an avenue. But again, it's just, you gotta wait for Regen, you gotta wait for help, and the individualistical nature of this LA Tech offense is really starting to hurt them.
Yeah, it's a single file line here and there, and they're just walking away with trades. It's never going to be good enough unless you have at least 3 players and a convincing kill feed at that to be able to work your way across Fort B. Wisdom inside of Church will find one, will be cut down over by the jump up to Hold Troll, and again, Will just flies over towards the B zone. They don't even clear away Patio, and they don't keep a player up towards the top radio. It's just such easy cleanups coming through for Oklahoma Christian, who now have a 4-life lead. 5 respawns remaining in total for LA Tech with only 25 seconds, the last push available.
Okay, well, some room to work with as they try to set this up, but I was going to say there's no one even forward enough to contest radio, and defensively, Oklahoma Christian had a pretty easy time defending this B zone. I mean, this was a, what, like 19 playing up against 17 or 15 or something of the nature, and we end with a 7-life advantage for Oklahoma Christian, and like I mentioned, at no point did Louisiana Tech ever retouch that B zone.
No, never since walking away with that first tick of progress. And maybe you like dipped a toe in there and then immediately got cut down by a player top patio. But they had a really good look. They had a couple of players push all the way through P5. They found that opening kill, had a player inside a radio, but then Wisdom finds a timing top Church, gets that player out by way of an angle inside of Bunks, and then the player that was in the backside of Church just couldn't get activated to the point to be able to commit towards that pinch and force all of Oklahoma Christian to be able to spawn over towards top grass. Just these individual kills paying dividends in favor of Oklahoma Christian. But speaking of individual kills, how about a nice little opening engagement coming through from LA Tech? They walk away unscathed through the opening few seconds of the round.
Yeah, big team wipe coming out. And Louisiana Tech is trying to spawn trap Oklahoma Christian as best as they can. Problem is, Will did not expect Wisdom to be around the back, so that's going to create now some chaos as the defense of the Bulldogs starts to move to consider B. But honestly, this is actually well judged for Oklahoma Christian. They're not going to overinvest towards the B zone. They're just going to clear mid-map and head back over to A and leave ball on the flag. This could work out pretty nicely for them as Wisdom clears more space through Church.
And they immediately nullify that 4-life deficit that was already off the rip as well. Just the returning gunfights off the respawns for Oklahoma Christian is something that we ended up seeing in this very map mode combination versus Redbirds not too long ago. Second tick of progress, not fully locked in, should be at least confirmed going forward. Wisdom finds themselves on 5 in a row. Has kill number 6 down the line. Will find it 1 kill away from getting themselves a glide bomb. A crucial tool if they end up capturing this A zone to convert over towards B.
Yeah, Wisdom's just on his own thing again, just making these individual plays and turns it into finesse to where he can absolutely decimate any set plays for LA Tech. So the glide bomb earned, life lead started to really amount all of a sudden. And oh, how do you not read that if you're Will? They're so really preoccupied with what's going on towards A that no one expected that Wisdom and Ball are around the back. Well, now they'll find one of the 2 components of that puzzle. But Wisdom is still a mystery, and you can see, I mean, look at the players on B right now for LA Tech. They're both looking behind like, dude, where is he?
Where is it going to come from next? I mean, you have Will at least waiting for the push that's coming through Lawn. That's Gus is at least going to be able to lock down that kill, but at least you cleared away the back. But there's no telling whether or not Gus was going to recommit towards that flank on the northern area of Church, but they will not, in fact. They will find at least some damage getting up in the bottom side of Church. 3 players strong. Here comes the push from Oklahoma Christian to try to convert this B zone.
Curious to see if they're going to try to use a glide bomb here. They're setting up as if they're going to maybe try to pull the trigger on it. Wisdom with a nade kill, moving even further past, and Reese will deny. So Gus, he's in the back, and he's actually going to force a couple of the gunfights, wins 2 of them. LA Tech are needing to get this kill. With their current spawn situation, you cannot allow Gus to be the back line, and not only did they clean him up, they also stopped Wisdom from joining him. So 9 plays up against 12, but the biggest component here is less than 30 seconds to play for Oklahoma Christian. Yeah,
less than 30 seconds. You know that that's not enough time to be able to lock away these 8 kills. You have to be able to find at least 1 or 2 and get onto the B zone to stop that clock from dwindling down.
You also got to remember that LA Tech was able to successfully capture the first tick of progress at B, so if that status were to hold and offensively Oklahoma Christian cannot match, there would be an advantage for potential round 5 defense, but Wisdom is just trying to stay alive right now and keep the play open. Dez on the way down got tagged, couldn't really hold his life inside the zone, and now it's a 5v6. And it looks like LA Tech have done enough defensively to make sure Oklahoma Christian will not get a second chance to touch, and that's indeed the case. And through 2 rounds, it's a 1-tick advantage for LA Tech.
And you're right to bring up the point, that 1 tick of progression differential for LA Tech that they were able to get over by B. You know, it took them the entirety of the round to almost try to give themselves a good look to maybe touch that B zone yet again, but it was that one tick that was only required, at least thus far, plus the full hold over by B on their defense will give them that advantage. We keep bringing that up because in round 5, it comes down to overall tick progression for those that are new to Vanguard control. So you're going to be looking at that going forward. If Oklahoma Christian can go for a full hold here, that should surely at least keep the waters safe for them to maybe try to convert their next offense. But off the rip has been good for LA Tech. They find that first blood on the fastball. And Wisdom, I was wondering, didn't even leave their spawn, ends up leaving the map.
All right. So we'll have to kind of, for now, but I imagine we'll get some sort of a reset involved with a 1-1 tie. But for now, I mean, Oklahoma Christian's still playing this out pretty fluidly, and oh boy, it's working out okay for them. Goodness. I mean, this is going to be a hard defense with just 3 members, but I mean, they're playing this through. I mean, no one else is leaving, so who knows what this kind of may amount to. We'll just keep going as if this is a real game at the moment. 27-25 is the current life count in LA Tech. You could tell they're really trying to punish here as best as they can, knowing that they still have a 4v3.
Yeah, I mean, trades are still going to be there, 25v22, even through the middle of the map. Dez cannot come up with anything at all, so now you got to deal with Reese over by this B zone. You also have Will soaking up progression, going over by that A zone. Isolated 2v1 down over by the column will finally find them, denying, I believe, that second tick of progress, and they sure will. So that'll be depleted. The A zone will be converted, 60 seconds added onto the board.
Second tick of progress at B, though, will be fully depleted, so we have a similar situation that we had from the previous LA Tech offense. 3 life lead, plenty of time in the clock. And of course, you're technically playing with a man advantage. So onto the zone they go. The kills are 100% free. Okay. So now we stack. Dez would have to get here and get here quickly as the second tick of progress is locked in. He's got the opportunity to make this move, but worried about the column flank. Gus will try to assist, but can't do too much of anything. Nice transfer from Will, and his whole troll covers his back. LA Tech will win the round 3 offense.
Full tick progression as well. I mean, look, the Eagles are staying in this as well, so not too sure what ended up happening from Wisdom's perspective. Yeah. Again, they were moving around perfectly fine rounds previous to that, but even more so than that, I mean, LA Tech, as you were saying, they're just punishing this affair going forward. There's really no reason to. If the lobby's not stopping, if nobody's fully quitting out of the game, then you just continue to play all the way through as if this is a true 4v3, because that's exactly what it is. Getting in towards the back line, overwhelming with numbers, making sure that you can lock down the kills, get the tick progression, extend the clock. Now they have a clear-cut advantage in mind. Oklahoma Christian somehow, some way, need to win this 3v4 offense back-to-back.
Okay. Seen weirder interactions, but not many. It is just... I don't know. I'm just kind of puzzled right now. That we haven't seen any other team kills or anything like that. Like, we're still playing this through. Like, does Oklahoma Christian know they lost Wisdom? I'm a little bit puzzled. But there we go. Now they're starting to leave. So, okay. We'll get word, I imagine, from our admin squad to see what exactly has happened and what very well may happen as far as implications for that map. I would have to assume, based on the timing of when Wiz had dropped out of the map, that it would go back to that 1-1 round 3, but I just work here. I don't know.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I just work here. You know, I get paid to sit here, say words the best I possibly can. I barely even speak English, but to tie a man bun. So, you know, that's what I'm here for, man.
That's fair. Well, while we're waiting for a full word on what has exactly occurred, we'll just go ahead and send things over to a brief break, consult with the admin team, and then make sure we come back with the full knowledge on what had occurred and what very well may go on from here. We'll see. Don't go too far. We'll be right back. Everybody, we are getting word that we obviously will go into the control again, but it will be a 2-1 tally in favor of LA Tech. So with that, Oklahoma Christian will now be on their round 4 offense, and an important map overall into this series as we try to continue to dig through this best of 5, which, I don't know, it's looking interesting if LA Tech can win this map 3.
Yeah, and you would almost assume that if they were able to win this map 3, that would then, I guess, as it may stand, as far as the pace differential, as far as the hard point, would extend it to a map number 5. Again, this is all barring what little knowledge that we have of playoff Oklahoma Christian comparatively to LA Tech. I mean, winning 2, 3, and 5 might just be their win condition, which can be just fine for them. As we're loading into this round 4 offense, remember again that it was LA Tech that were able to win their previous offense, even though it was a 4v3. They still hold the overall tick lead, so it has to be back-to-back offenses here for the Eagles.
Well, good start for him right off the rip. 4-man foot over towards A. And with the first 2 kills, this will be 2 ticks, if not maybe even the full zone. Goodness, nobody from Louisiana Tech can really even touch it. Now, finally, they're able to get here to really get involved, but it's a little bit too late. So a full 60 is added. And look at the far spawn for Dez. He's already on patio with the opportunity to push through if he wants to.
Yeah, I don't think that Will's going to be aware of this either. Will, at least we'll find an engagement versus Gus. That should be cleaned up, at least traded, but it's still, Dez's position is not known, and trades are coming through over by the middle of the map. That's going to be good for LA Tech to at least hold the line for now. But now Dez has help back here from Wisdom. They only know that he's back here. Again, Dez has pushed up so far forward to find a couple of spawn kills.
Yeah, and this is absolutely massive for Oklahoma Christian, being able to turn this into a quick hit over towards B. Holtrol is really the only defense from stopping a full stack from coming through, because Dez still has to play forward. Wisdom still has to play for patio, and LA Tech will clear out one of those 2 players in the back. Wisdom forced to come forward. He will forfeit his position over towards the patio, and that'll be enough for LA Tech to start getting a bit forward. But in the process, now it's Balla who snuck through Church to get around the backside.
That's the right call, though, from Wisdom to give up the B-zone control and try to help create some space coming out from patio. But as you were saying, now Balla is that player that's pushed up, but you don't have that player that's on the backside of Church. Wisdom is trying to pick that up. They're also in at least needing a player to be able to get up or by top radio. Wisdom will find their kill. Gus will clean up theirs. So off the respawn, Dez should at least get themselves inside top radio and overwatch this play happening.
Well, Reese, good for it. Obviously has Balla nearby, gets the gun up in time, but cannot land the shot. So first tick of progress now locked in. Balla looking for an engagement over towards Church, but will be pushed aside. LA Tech still with numbers, largely in that top Church position. Not really sure where Holtrol thought he was going, and uh-oh, 3 players down immediately. LA Tech in a bit of trouble. It's just Will, largely between Oklahoma Christian and a possible 2 or 3 player stack. Sampy off the long back line. He will get one before falling to a nade. And the second tick of progress already halfway done. Looks pretty much guaranteed, especially if Wisdom can hold this position away from the LA Tech defense. And he at least gets 1 elimination, but cannot get it in time to save his teammate. So progress at the second tick will stop. And Oklahoma Christian, largely, I have to imagine, is looking at these last 3 lives thinking that's our win condition.
Yeah, there's no reason not to play for that win condition. You just put a player over by the B zone, slowly work up some of that tick progression, let the engagements come to you, or Balla's just going to fish them out inside of Church. 1v odd situation. Look, we saw it happen from the Eagles POV versus the Redbirds back in that first matchup of the evening. It just will not come to be. Oklahoma Christian were able to at least win this offense, but they're still down in overall tick progression, which means they have to win yet another offense to take the map.
That would be the assumption. We'll see if they drop out a lobby to make sure those sides are correct, or are we going to play it through? I'm not going to assume anything at this point in time.
Yeah, we just work here.
Yeah, we just work here. I don't get paid to make decisions. The only decisions I make on what words are said. That's pretty much... Well, they're going to play through it. Okay. I mean, the information we got was 2-1, so... This would lead us to believe that LA Tech has essentially forfeited their round 5 defense that they should have had an advantage with, based on our math, which is sometimes not great, but that'd be the assumption.
Well, they're playing it out, Alan, so I guess we're going to be here. LA Tech, I mean, they were able to win a previous offense. But the way that Wisdom has heated back up, coming in towards the replay is on an 8 spree from the previous round, and they are continuing on their middle map devious antics, finding themselves kill number 9.
Oh, boy. Okay, so it is a 5-life lead, 60 seconds on the clock, and LA Tech is a bit stifled, if not suffocated in their spawn. Good double out of Holtrol. That'll open up the opportunity to stop the clock and get onto A. Sampy living through the initial point of contact here with Gus, and, well, Gus wants that gunfight. Sampy's not interested, just stuns his back and then says, I'm out.
First tick of progress, at least... almost come all the way through, but I mean the push came through for fastball. That'll slowly deplete the A progression. You don't need to fully deplete this though if you're Oklahoma Christian. You've already shaved away so much of the game clock. You have a 22 to 16 life lead for Oklahoma Christian. You can just wait for the engagements to come to you.
Thing about it though, there's an extra 60 seconds. Could be enough time to start digging into this life lead and maybe give yourself a look to get over towards the B zone for a possible capture. Gus up top, cheeky angle, gets 2 before falling. Holtrol would love to confirm the second elimination on the ball and will do so by way of stun, but Wisdom will eventually get the trade needed. LA Tech will still find the way to fully lock in A. And how about number 8? Reese is actually able to kind of force the defense to have to play around B as he got over and touched the zone for a minute. And that actually leads to an opportunity for the Bulldogs to work with the church positions.
But you really needed Will to be able to convert one kill on the backside of Church to get themselves a forward position. They can't walk away with it. Fastball is going to be able to clean things up. So now you have to at least play through the middle of the map. There's one player that's pushed up. That's Sampy down low. Is there. Breaks the camera. Nobody was able to get that trade onto Bala immediately. Finds a 2-piece, and that means that LA Tech are back to the drawing board once again.
And we just need to see him get high ground control. That's the biggest thing. And it needs to be focused. We cannot be relying on individual solo chals through P5 and up the ladders. So Dez now in top radio will be bested. Wisdom following up on that position. Traded in his own regard. And now the hit moving towards B. You would love to see it clean up things quickly because there's a long flank coming around the back from Bala again. And yeah, Oklahoma Christian is just surviving, waiting for this flank. That'll be an easy kill to clean up the patio play. And now it's an 11v3. And again, based on what we were told, it was a 2-1 restart, which means that if Oklahoma Christian win these last 3 kills, they will win this map.
It's looking very likely. 3v11. Without Sampy, you got to clear away the back end. Well, will get the trade, but your 2 versus the world, 20 seconds remaining. And Reese, you might be able to find that trade, but Lord knows what's waiting for you on the other side of this column.
Well, we know what's waiting on him on the other side of this column. If the players were enough, the glide bomb surely would have been. So, interesting, to say the least.
Yep.
And unless we're completely blasted and didn't do the math correctly, which I think we did. That was Louisiana Tech that should have had round 5 defense that did not. So, apparently that's what the players said, that was what's going to happen. So, Oklahoma Christian, by ways we are told, that should be a map 3 win, and it sets us up for a map 4 Bacage hardpoint.
It's a mystery. Look, I write down the round counts for tick progression after every single round, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, Eagles are going to be able to at least take a 2-1 lead as far as the series is concerned, and that's not good news when you're looking at this from LA Tech's perspective, because they need to win this series, as I believe that Redbirds were able to at least win out their series versus Crimson Gaming, so that also puts the ball in the court quite literally for LA Tech Esports to be able to win this series versus Oklahoma Christian, to maybe even see playoffs at all, but even more so than that, Eagles, again, as far as Respawn is concerned, the pace differential is all the way there. Again, you saw it from Wisdom's perspective. They got back in towards the replay through the pass at the end of round number 1 for the replay. Then going into round number 2, they went on a 9 spree. You just got to be able to get an answer for Wisdom's antics.
All right, well, let's take a look at the map set here really quickly as we try to get ready for this map number 4, which will hopefully happen a little more smoothly than the 3rd did, at least logistically wise. And hey, here's this. We're also through our triple stack of Tuscan. 250-104 on the opening hardpoint, and after what looked to be a good first 2 hills from LA Tech, they could get nothing going afterwards. Round 11 search, in which Louisiana Tech was able to take round 10 and round 11 back-to-back to confirm map number 2. And then Oklahoma Christian, clean off of the reset in their offense, just as dominant in their quote-unquote defense of round 5. And it gives us a hard point on Bacage. And I think the biggest worry here, if you're LA Tech, you have to keep Wisdom underneath your control. You let Wisdom pop off with an SMG, this map once again may just get out of hand quickly.
The same could honestly be said for Bala as far as an answer is concerned. I mean, if where Wisdom is creating a lot of space on their lonesome, Bala is doing it from the opposite side. And although Bala hasn't been going on these massive sprees that we've been seeing from Wisdom throughout the 3 maps that were played versus the Redbirds and the 3 maps that were previously played throughout LA Tech, they're still creating a lot of opportunities, you see, for both Guz and Snipadez to be able to get themselves in further positions to be able to lock down any sort of flanks or antics for LA Tech to try to return the gunfights back in their favor, to be able to break inside some of these hardpoints. That was the biggest issue coming away from the Tuscan hardpoint. Not only was it a lot of SMG presence, but the ARs were always in better positions comparatively to the Bulldogs' positions to be able to resurface themselves to open up the avenues for the SMGs to continuously get aggressive.
All right. We'll see kind of what unfolds here. We got the full setup on it. Waiting on the lobby here to get started. And, well, not a lot of other reports are coming through on a lot of the other groups that we've had here in the Western region. Again, this is the final day of group play, so we should be able to set at least the Western bracket after everything is all said and done this evening. I think the biggest matchup that we kind of have to keep our eye out for, again, in the Group A is Oklahoma State, Mississippi State. That would likely be a play-in for who else in Group A would be coming out of that with Ottawa. In Group B, we do know who's advanced. We already talked about this. St. Edward's 3-0'd in the group. Westcliff with their 3 over Minnesota State will also come through. And then really everything else is kind of still up in the air. No one else is fully confirmed. Arizona State and Longhorn Gaming, we talked about that briefly. And everything else is just waiting on final reports. So we have about half of the Western region determined as far as who's made it through and who still has to kind of fight for it, including in that conversation is LA Tech. Need a Map 4, Map 5 win here to hopefully win a head-to-head-to-head trio tiebreaker to get into the playoff double elimination bracket.
And it's going to come here on the Bocage hardpoint. Again, we have talked about their keys to success, what needs to come all the way through. The pace differential was surely felt on the Tuscan hardpoint. In a land that is Bocage, in a way that SMGs can always go around. Reese needs to be that player, does find the first, but again, the trades will be there continuously. If they did start off on the favorite side of the map, so LA Tech, team kills aside, should at least be able to maintain any barn control that they could possibly desire to be able to at least keep these Eagles players at bay.
Good read here from Gus. Takes care of Will. And this is the biggest thing I will say, kind of looking back at all the respawns so far, is that Oklahoma Christian, they find themselves 3, 4-man feeds so regularly. And a lot of it is just individual gunfights. It's not really like one player getting a double or triple as part of it. It's just everyone kind of holds down their lanes. They wait for the right engagement, and they absolutely capitalize with full team wipes routinely. LA Tech will have one player in Will kind of get around the back. I think he actually spawned there. But I think that's going to be largely okay as Ball is able to read it, get into the barn position, read one more player backside stable, but isn't able to take care of Hull Troll. So as the first hard point expires, it's 16 seconds earned for Oklahoma Christian, but LA Tech on the rotation for 2.
On the rotation, sure, but Wisdom's already in towards the back, trying to upset some tin spawns, finds that last player up by top barn, does not get the immediate read that Holtro was inside the barn, so they'll lock down that kill, and a crucial one at that. If Wisdom continued to go big back there, Lord knows what was going to end up happening towards the spawn. So LA Tech, they at least maintain these spawns for now, but this is a very feasible hard point to try to hold from the front.
Well, the gunfights once more. Oklahoma Christian finding every kill needed. Oh, and Reese cannot play hero this time. It would have been good to get the double and at least open up an opportunity for LA Tech to continue to fight for this hill. But now it all has to be one from the front, which you don't feel great about when Wisdom is just sneaking around to your back line and already putting pressure on the next hill. 3 in a row for him as well. Once again, just getting streaked. This time he'll be doubled up on. Nothing he could do there. But again, that route, even though he doesn't find success on the actual rotation, it does guarantee scrap time as Oklahoma Christian take the first significant lead of the game.
Yeah, and even more so than that, that little hit and that little hold that came from the front initially for Oklahoma Christian denies and contests that P2 hill. Again, a hard point where you do typically see a lot of teams able to lock down about 35, almost 40 seconds if you do hold those P2 spawns. Does not come to be for LA Tech. Now in towards P3 again, LA Tech, they have the closer spawn, but you are constantly having to deal and worry about these flanks because Oklahoma Christian are so good at stringing together these multi-kills.
Wisdom again for 2. Spawns 1 by Oklahoma Christian. Now they can focus purely on the front, which is where LA Tech is heavily stacked. Actually, they're trying to play off the second floor, it looks like. Yeah, double stack up top. Will's able to get a double. Wisdom taken down from this side. That'll lead to a break opportunity here. And how about the response from LA Tech from the front? That'll be a clean feed. They unfortunately kind of get flipped back into the spawns, but honestly, this allows you a chance to really commit for the scrap time, which could give us to about an even game.
Yeah, you have to trust that Ultra will at least go 1 for 1 here in the situation, and they absolutely do. The other players are trying to commit towards that A lane, trying to get themselves those closer spawns, and Ultra will spawn in over by 10. But again, your flank is not always safe. It's never secure. You need to be wary about counting names and numbers because Gus is back here, and the spawns have flipped in their favor.
All right, big moment here for LA Tech, trying to fight not just for the hill, but more importantly the spawns. A couple of the players actually will spawn out here for Oklahoma Christian, so now every single gunfight becomes imminently important. And as Will takes a double, he's got a read saying, okay, the hit has to be coming from the front. Still 30 seconds to fight for it, but Oklahoma Christian is largely stacked towards tank fields, which isn't necessarily the place you want to hit from. Say, gets the AR is super activated, and that will occur. Good trade onto Wisdom, and that is a brilliant hold from LA Tech.
Yeah, again, great read at being able to at least see that you got those 2 players in towards the back. 1 player for LA Tech spawned in over by 10. There's only really one real direction that you have to be looking at, and that's from the front side of barn. As you were saying, I mean, Oklahoma Christian were setting players to try to hit over by the A lane, met by a handful of ARs from LA Tech and bullets galore. So now you have to concede the back end of that. It is LA Tech with about a 40-point lead going in towards P5, but you still have the initial setup for Oklahoma Christian, but Stampy's already spawned back in.
Yeah, this really has been a nice exchange here from 3 to 5 if you're LA Tech. And it leads to an opportunity to really force Oklahoma Christian to have to figure out what they want to do on these rotations, because they're starting to get really picked apart. 16-12 for Holtrell, 14-11 for Sampy. They've been doing a lot of the work. Only thing really missing in this P5 has been hill time. All these kills have been great for the Bulldogs, but largely just not getting into the hard point has maybe kind of left the door open a little bit longer here for Oklahoma Christian.
Yeah, I believe maintaining the lead is good, but, you know, when you get an abundance of kills, those 3 kills come down, try to at least get maybe an SMG over towards the hard point, start manifesting some more points in towards the value, but even more so than that, that spawn that came through from Sampy was able to at least be the catalyst, if you will, for Holtrell Will to constantly get further aggressive through the middle of the map, push that line of scrimmage forward, if you will. The lead is big for LA Tech. That is a big lead when it comes down to Bocage. Oklahoma Christian need to do what's damn near impossible for many different teams, and that's stringing together a handful of points here on Bocage. Not only keep LA Tech at bay here on P1, but also maintain top barn control and turn P into a money hill for the second set.
Here we go. Fight for barn unleashes. Dez in trouble. 1 HP Chal with the pistol. That will work out nicely. 3 in a row now for Dez as he gets the regen off. And honestly, is the only Eagle kind of responsible for this bottom part of the hill. And he's going to get a pretty good look at a couple of different members. I mean, he's single-handedly shut this rotation down and forcing LA Tech to kind of have to hit outside of Granny's, which is not normally how you want to work to get towards spawns. But as the kills, the Bulldogs start to come through, now they're starting to make a play for the spawns for P2. Oklahoma Christian, one more set that they could get involved in the back, but they have not read Sampy, who's backside 10. And that could potentially block spawns as we open up this second hill. In fact, it's not even just going to block them, it's going to win them for the side of LA Tech, as you have a couple of members that spawn close by, but still resilient in nature is Dez, as he will continue to keep the pressure on these backside of P2.
Still with the read, too, that their player is still over by the riverbed as well. The information comes through. Gus finds 2, Bala for the 3rd. But again, Sampy is back here, is constantly making plays happen for LA Tech, but did not have the numbers to be able to enforce said play. Oklahoma Christian off of the second set are slowly climbing their way back into their game. They have already strung together about 46 points, and they are at least looking to maintain that steep deficit going forward. They just have to be able to find these last few kills for LA Tech, of which they're starting to do in kind, but it's again Sampy with the AR that locks down the longer line of sight and keeps all of Oklahoma Christian off the point.
At least for now, scrap time of 12 seconds is up for grabs. Wisdom able around to get at least some clarity about where the situation unfolds for LA Tech as they look to once again put together a great Granny's hardpoint. This time, though, there is so much more pressure for Oklahoma Christian inside. Ball to the last player left, into the pistol, nothing there. And Ball has been a bit empty so far, I would say, in this map. But just 14 and 27. And boy, could the Eagles really use him as they try to break this third hill.
Oh, spawns again for LA Tech. Oklahoma Christian were able to break this from the front in the previous set. Oh, I really thought Holtrell was going to be able to lock that down, but Gus was able to clean up on a weakened Holtrell, was able to find themselves kill number 3 in a row. Is almost doing this in an isolated form, but I mean, you go on this little bit of a spree, it could open up the floodgates inside of Grandma's for these last few players for Oklahoma Christian to break on in, and they also get spawns with 25 seconds maintaining in this hill.
This last 20 seconds is important for the Eagles. You don't want to get out of hand when it comes to 2 minutes of game clock and what could be a pretty significant margin if you miss this scrap. And yeah, they're actually going to choose to rotate early here. I mean, it does, I mean, I say early. It's early for Bocage. They're going to miss out on maybe about 12 to 15 seconds here, but I think the biggest thing is for LA Tech, not only do you win the scrap, you're also winning gunfights on rotation because Oklahoma Christian were so worried about the backside spawns. So now it's down to, can you get a read on where the Bulldogs are and clean these kills up cleanly? And it looks like the answer is largely a yes. It's a 3v2 situation. Now it's just last one player in the hill, and that will be found. Oklahoma Christian, an opportunity to set up a hold.
Only realistically have about one player inside of this hardpoint right now. It's Gus. We'll finally get some help here by Fastballer. Breaking the Lancers, things you love to see. I can't tell you how many deaths I have by way of those guys, but even still, you got to be able to keep your head on a swivel. You never know which door these players are going to be coming from. The coordinated pinch comes through. LA Tech, they find the kills required. They flip the spawns, and they get in for the time. Much needed time again. Oklahoma Christian cannot let all of this fall by the wayside.
How big is that from Wisdom to get that double? Once again, it looked like LA Tech was going to have an opportunity to really make life difficult on the scrap, but not to be this time. 176-150. Oklahoma Christian on the comeback. We go to P5. Ball, a big 1v1 here. It's actually Gus's nade that finishes it off. And an opportunity for Oklahoma Christian to turn spawns into hill time if they could just take this last player out of the hard point. But Hold Troll, how has he collected 3? Still alive, has some help from Will. And all of a sudden, LA Tech from the front looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, and you also have Will that's watching that back God tank. They're watching so many players for Oklahoma Christian cross, but the player that is trying to make the play over by the Willow Tree is Gus. They will be traded out. The hold from the front's going to be good. Dez has to commit this push to get Will out from that, or Reese from that positioning, but you're giving up a lot of time for LA Tech to soak up hardpoint time here on 5. They're past the 200-point margin.
You have to break this, though, if you're Oklahoma Christian and the kills come through cleanly. One more player up top was Reese, and he wanted to take a look down towards the river, so as he now falls, the scrap time should be good. 203 to what would be about 175. Still doable here for Oklahoma Christian, but you have to make sure you are clean in these opening gunfights. You cannot allow LA Tech to get free time here on the first. And it's Hold Troll again! Doubles up on 2 weak Eagles close by and then takes down the third. And LA Tech are in the hill for some pretty solid time as they stretch closer and closer to 250.
And you could just be an absolute nuisance if you are LA Tech. Just keep staying inside the hard point, forcing these easy one-on-one engagements to come your way. The leader's advantage is starting to be felt. An aggressive push comes through from Hold Troll. I don't blame them. They're up to 40 kills now, Allen, but they finally get wiped away. They're spawning on the south side over by the riverbed, and Oklahoma Christian are starting to become activated, piecing together a couple of kills. Needs to find that last one on the backside of Barn. They know that Will is back here, but they should at least maintain the north side of the map for now.
Yeah, you kind of have to fight the war on 3 fronts right here. You've got hardpoint time that has to go your way. You've got spawns that you need for P2, and you cannot allow the game clock to sink much lower than where it currently is. And at the moment, Oklahoma Christian is fighting this from the wrong side of the battlefield. And oh boy, the ARs just light things up. Reese for a couple, Sampy in the mix. And the only player to get through, if you want to call it that, is Wisdom. Dez there to help, though, so hold on a second. 240 to 183, but Oklahoma Christian has the backside and spawns. You just got to get into contest and hopefully find a way to fully clear. And there it is. Both members for the Bulldogs will drop, and it's Oklahoma Christian with at least some sort of a hold here towards P2 until Will has something to say about it. 3 in a row for him. Wants more as his teammates will try to stun him forward, but Gus and Wisdom will hold for a little while longer. Now it's down to maybe the final moments as through the middle of the map, Hold Troll will get another triple. 45 and 34 as LA Tech look to send us to map 5.
Yeah, I don't think you can get here in time. Oklahoma Christian simply cannot. The kills just weren't there, and the pace differential gets flipped on its head. The script quite literally flipped as LA Tech just have an immediate answer, 250 to 192, and a lot of that was done throughout the entirety of the first set of hardpoints. They had themselves about a 60-point lead, and they replicated that throughout the entirety of the second set. 45 and 34 for Hold Troll, 32 non-traded kills, and now you at home, and maybe even you, Alan, are probably asking the same thing that I'm about to ask. What the hell was that the first map? Because the pace just simply wasn't there on the Tuscan hardpoint. But then on a map like Bocage, they look like they are set up. They are at home. You're right to highlight again the ARs were just lighting things up continuously. Say what you will, that Reese did not end up having themselves in a position to be able to constantly shut down flanks. But Sampy was that guy, man. Just constantly flying out for these routes, was keeping players locked in very unfortunate situations, and just baiting out long-range 1v1s, winning them more often than not, and flipping spawns in favor for their team, where they were always having to battle in an unfortunate situation, and the Eagles just simply could not have an answer to the 38 and 31 Sampy opening up the floodgates for the rest of their team.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, look at the damage. I mean, 38 and 31, 4,200 damage. Hold Troll pops off, goes 45 and 34, and Balla just really couldn't get things going. I mean, 20 and 43, and this is not going to be good enough when you're looking at your SMGs to get involved in a more significant manner, that's for sure. Could have potentially been the difference maker in the map, and we've got a very important map 5 to come after the break. LA Tech, if they find a way to win it, it would force a 3-way tiebreaker situation, and honestly, they may find themselves in a position to get in towards that playoff bracket. We'll see. We'll go to a break, come back for map number 5 right after this. Map 5 affair. This has been a really tight group. A lot of map 5s going on between all of the different matchups in this group G in the Western region, but LA Tech desperately and required I don't even know where I'm going. Desperately and well, I don't even have a second word. They just need to win this map. If they want to see playoffs, they need to win this map.
Yep. No, I look like I said coming in towards the series. I don't know where you were going with it either. I'm here for the journey. Honestly, it's the adventure with you I always look forward to every
about
day,
the
brother.
climb.
But yeah, but the climb and the view at the end, and that's exactly what LA Tech are looking for here. Because a win here very much so could put them in that tiebreaker situation that you were kind of fishing at earlier to be able to see that double elimination bracket. They love their map 5s. They lost that round 11 versus Redbirds just last week. And going up against Oklahoma Christian, look, walking away from that Tuscan S&D, they were able to win that round 11. And again, you have to assume, coming into a Berlin Search and Destroy, the playbook is not that deep for the Eagles. You can expect a lot of mid-map antics, a lot of aggression coming through. A couple stuns, a couple nades might be able to rectify that situation immediately for LA Tech, but the Eagles could just get the ball rolling pretty darn early before LA Tech become wise to that type of situation.
That's the thing. It's just one of those situations that I'm prone to agree with you on the fact that Oklahoma Christian has largely just shown us aggression. And even in that Tuscan, when it started to get red, there wasn't really a second game plan, it felt like, as far as the initial setups are concerned. So, I don't know. I'll be curious to see who's going to go where here for OC. And I also think it'll be really curious to see if Ball's going to try to trust the sniper rifle here as well. And if so, will it be on the defensive side, the offensive side, or maybe a little bit of both? We'll find out. LA Tech immediately over towards mailroom. You've got Sampy trying to watch the A cross, and he may have seen one player go through, but it's full mailroom control here for LA Tech as they try to get a look at what's going on over towards B.
Didn't see Ball across there, immediately couldn't get in that position, so Ball is in a 1-for-1 position inside the B hut. Again, mailroom control is here, but you also have to be wary because Dez is watching this crossover towards the hut.
Oh, the cross has been seen. It was Dez that was trying to watch it, but ooh, the double peek actually works out nicely for the Bulldogs. That'll lead to a plant. Sampy backing up to watch the flank. And Gus, who's trying to challenge the exit, will not be able to find too much. So 3v4 retake, and a major advantage now all of a sudden established by LA Tech just based on their positioning. And yeah, okay, that's probably going to be just about it. It sounds like Dez is actually sniping, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure is.
And yeah, he absolutely is.
But so, I mean, losing Wisdom in towards the back, you would feel like this is a mute point for the retake. 18 seconds, you got to find these 3 kills. A player to really put a pinch would be Sampy, and the flank is also being reflanked by Will, but Gus finds the first. Dez looking for the bomb, trying to go for the defuse, but Will hits the flank, finds the last 2, and that'll be the round. Yeah, you really feel like that if Ball is able to at least find 1 in there, and the cross being held again was at least able to find some talked about damage, that the retake could have come through a little bit cleaner. But I love that post-plant setup initially for LA Tech. Once they got the bomb down, they immediately just put Sampy in a position to watch the flank entirely because they didn't see Wisdom through the middle of the map. So you know that flank, or that immediate aggressive hit's not going to come all the way through. Wisdom was directed to make that long fight happen all the way into the backs of the warehouse, meets Sampy, they win the gunfight, and that puts LA Tech in a much in a better position to be able to close out that round.
Yeah. Good stuff in the opening offense. Now what you have defensively. Oh, Will. Okay. Doesn't miss out too much on the timing, but he wanted to get in a little bit cleaner than he did. And as Wisdom takes a kill mid-map, this puts a lot of pressure onto Will, who responds nicely. 4 in a row. Wants to take down Balla and will do so cleanly. Will single-handedly has now dealt with the large majority of the Oklahoma Christian push. And while doing so, forced the bomb onto the ground. Wisdom looking to get isolated, but the help is not quite there yet. So all of a sudden has to turn into a 1v1. The pistol's out, and it would have been an ace, but Will not quite able to lock down the shots, not expecting that second eagle to be there on the backside of the statue.
Yeah, I mean, Will almost puts on a highlight reel of a round. And you almost have to assume that once they got that kill, they probably did not get the information nor saw it on their screen that the bomb had patty caked its way down inside of the B hut. If they had that information, probably be playing that one out a little bit differently. Maybe they wouldn't have. I don't know. Will and Holtroll are coming off of a very good hard point from that Bocage. You're probably feeling the hot hand. Not to mention how Will, if they got that last kill, would have been a glide bomb. So questions all around. Need answers immediately. LA Tech off another offense. Not going to end up getting too much information. Sampy again watching that cross, but Wisdom smokes him from range.
Good second follow-up kill as well. Turns this now to another 2v4, but we've said that before about LA Tech, and they've pulled it around. Not just a 2v4, but a 2v3 also on Tuscan. Control. Oh my god. It's just hold good positions. 2v2, and the bomb's going to be recovered and planted. There's no way that Oklahoma Christian can challenge these post-plant positions unless Gus gets on his high horse and moves quickly.
Balla has to watch this exit, but loses the timing because of it. You'd have to assume that Gus needs to fly in towards the back because they know in a 2v2 situation, at least one player will be back here, but they have the angle on a hold troll. They'll force out a 2v1. And it's just about timing. You have to allocate 7.5 seconds to get that defuse while watching the angle at the same time, depending on where Will is located at.
Oh, and he's hit the correct route. Gus is playing through mail. He's got to look at Balla, sees the check, has the shots in towards Gus, still has nades to play with, but Balla at range is able to secure the kill. The nade does the job it was intended to, but it's just a little bit too late, unfortunately, for LA Tech, and with that, Oklahoma Christian will scrape out a third round.
Yeah, a very scary third-round scraping when you're really thinking about it, right? Because, again, the bomb being recovered, Hold Troll being able to find that kill over by the small corner just on the outside of Statue in between the train station is just things that were setting themselves up for continuous success. But, I mean, getting the overall read, not being able to lock down that kill, again, you had all the information in the world on where that last play was coming from Will's POV, but just could not lock down the kill. The nade was good, keep in mind you. And even holding resources at that very end of the round of a search and destroy is even better. Gus watching the cross, probably ended up at least seeing one cross, but this is an A committal nonetheless.
Here we go. A lot of contest around A. First shots are good. Wisdom looking to hit a bit of a mini pinch. He's got two players in front of him, but that is very wise for Sampy to turn his attention back over towards the staircase. And Gus, who is the only Eagles member not a part of this play towards A, finds himself facing down the gun of a 1v4 situation. He's made it easier on him by finding the first, and there is a lot of time here, but you just don't build a lot of hope to him actually being able to confirm this round.
You leave Sampy inside that small room just outside where the bomb was planted at. Reese will be there for some help. And then you have Holtro watching the immediate cross through the middle of the map. Gus gives a quick peek. I don't think that Holtro ended up seeing him, so Gus will find one player in towards the back. Trey needs to be there, and yeah, it will be cleaned up pretty darn clean-like. And as you were saying, again, Sampy shutting down any sort of wisdom aggression antics over by the courtyard staircase is exactly the benefactors that you need for LA Tech to be able to shut down this Eagles roster out of Oklahoma Christian continuously. It is their aggression that wins them more rounds often than not on search and destroy, and Sampy has been the answer for any wisdom antics continuously through multiple rounds.
2-2 we go. And LA Tech, once again, okay, still going to try to trust this hit over towards B. This time it's going to be largely a route through the warehouse, though. Not a lot of attention towards mailroom, at least compared to the first offensive run they put together. And yeah, they've actually gained some presence over on the cross. Think about this, as Ball's in a position to follow up if he gets a pretty solid read or help from Wisdom, which he does. And this is an unbelievable defensive advantage, but the track back. Maybe a little bit of cold feet after that Wisdom kill forces LA Tech back towards mid, and they get rewarded with a kill, turning this to a 3v3.
Again, you're not necessarily feeling the ante to try to commit over towards this BS&D site. You don't really know where a lot of these players are located at. Dez slowly backpedals away, and that's the right call. Does at least see that Reese is over by this truck. So it's just about holding the line for now, but that's immediate information on where this player is located at. It's going to activate Hold Troll, and this is a very scary play because he is still your bomb carrier.
Oh, and Hold Troll dropping. Now puts LA Tech in a pretty impossible situation with only 30 seconds. Good stun, good follow-up. And it's all on to Sampy. We'll have a route to get to the bomb. Obviously, if you're Oklahoma, you don't really know that the bomb is down in this position. But it may not make too much of a difference here. We'll see. Yep, Gus is even watching the backside. Good awareness from him. Oklahoma Christian will once again keep us in a back-and-forth affair.
Yeah, it's all off of that first blood, isn't it? I mean, once you find that one player, you lose Balla, sure, trying to make the egregious push onto the backside of the Doc's house. If they were able to walk away with a kill, that would have been the round right then and there. But even still, you hesitate after losing that initial player for LA Tech, and it just kind of forces you into this turtle position. Who has to be the player to try to be activated? It's unfortunate that it was your bomb carrier for Hold Troll. They try to push over by that B lane. They don't come up with anything because they got pinched out. Oklahoma Christian winning multiple rounds in a row, putting themselves in the driver's seat to try to continue to put this in sequence of one another. It's going to be another A committal, but they're leaving Dez behind to watch the push through over by the stained glass. Wisdom also gets a read on the player top stairs.
And that's actually a read that everyone says, we're good, let's get out of here. Reset and try to flip back over towards B, and the timing here is great. LA Tech have overcommitted. They're not going to realize this, but The only bit of good news as far as their defensive setup is concerned is that you do have the ability to contest here over in male. Oh, but Sampy, I think Gus just saw him. Or maybe not. Has Sampy got through? Gus hasn't reacted on the minimap. And if they can find this kill onto Wisdom, which they don't see the barrel sticking through. I mean, we're looking at it because he's lit up bright white like a Christmas tree, but not going to be shared information as LA Tech will not get the recovery needed, and Oklahoma Christian for the first time will take back-to-back rounds and put themselves up by 2.
But it's interesting, right? Because even with Codcaster, like, you can tell that the barrel is sticking up because it's not filled in white. Like, you can see, like, the slight, like, little outline for it as well. I don't know. My eyes have been maybe trained too much, or maybe I'm just seeing crosses. I'm not too sure. But even so, the barrel should have absolutely been sticking out, regardless of the matter. Oklahoma Christian, this is now 3 rounds in a row. Really starting to run away with this search and destroy, getting these lockdown holds. Wisdom is going on their ways with a 5 spree, 9 and 4 in total. Gonna put a lot of players inside of fire. Watch these crosses. Again, going back towards this B push. Bomb carrier of Reese is trying to find a time to get on in towards this B site, but kind of hesitates just up a little bit.
Fire acting across the B site, but it's actually Holtroll playing a bit rogue. Was able to find a free kill onto Wisdom. Oh, big follow-up gunfight, though. Ball is able to at least take down some of the pressure on B. And after all the trades are said and done, we go 2v2, and this play towards B has been red. Dez has seen it the whole way.
They're going to allow this bomb to go down, and this is immediately going to be the call upon for Gus. Yeah, Dez needs to stay alive here. Comes back out over by the dock. This is all relying on Gus is able to find at least 1 kill back here. They sure do, but you still need to allocate 7 seconds, and Sampy's still back here. He's going to be playing against the clock to maybe try to check the bomb.
Yeah, he does have to check the bomb, by the way. But Dez and Gus are not going to try to play for any sort of a defusal. They're going to try to search him out, and Gus shooting straight as ever. 11 and 2 in this search and destroy. 5 in a row, and a key reason why Oklahoma Christian has won 3 rounds back-to-back-to-back.
It's just interesting, right? Because it was Wisdom in that Kavutsu hardpoint. We saw Bala go big in that Bocage search and destroy. This is versus the Redbirds, by the way. And then Dez went big in the Tuscan control. And now you're seeing it come back around in full circle. Now it's Gus's turn to get activated. All 4 of these players, we know just by looking at their namesake alone from challengers and previous other OLTs, is that they can be that player that this Oklahoma Christian roster needs at any moment of time. Gus on a 5 spree now. I mean, you would almost feel that if you don't shut him down here, obviously it would end up being the map and the game and any playoff chances for LA Tech to try to see the double Elam bracket.
Here we go. Needs to be 4 in a row for LA Tech. Good information here from Sampy. As once again, Oklahoma Christian starting to get aggressive, but that stun, that will allow, obviously, good awareness, knowing that Sampy's playing in a corner. Dez will easily reward himself with the easy kill. Now Ball is behind enemy lines. Just don't love the look of this defensively for LA Tech when it comes to how do you respond to this. Oh, and Reese just gets jumped over. Tough scenes. It's all down the will. Playoff hopes on the line here. Do or die. Needs to be what would be a technical 1v4, and Gus will shut it down mid-map. Oklahoma Christian, after a back-and-forth first 4 rounds, they'll take 4 in a row to win the map 5, guaranteeing themselves the first seed out of Group G, and it sends LA Tech home. No more playoffs for them. What a run, though.
Wow, that's absurd. I mean, for a multitude of reasons, because, I mean, you're throwing a lot of different things out the window, because clearly the playbook is a little bit deeper. Maybe not on Bocage, maybe not on Tuscan, but it was disciplined, I would say, coming from Oklahoma Christian's perspective on that Berlin search and destroy. They were directly playing from a perspective that they were at least watching crosses. They were denying space. The stuns, the nades were finding information through the early goings of the round. It's insane to be able to say that that this Oklahoma Christian squad actually has something different to offer for ourselves rather than the Wisdom just going rogue through the middle of the map.
Proper.
Yeah.
Hold on to something. So our assumptions based on the map count with the Redbird COD team from Illinois State being up on Crimson Gaming, they lost map 5. So LA Tech is in due to the 3-way tiebreaker at 1 and 2. Bro. What a roller coaster of emotions.
Huh?
Why was we needed the challenge updated in real time. We were making wild assumptions. The second round hasn't even been updated yet. Last we heard, it was Redbirds COD up 2-1 versus Crimson Gaming. But Utah has just played spoiler and sent Louisiana Tech into the playoffs, dude.
Huh? Bro, that's crazy. I mean, look, again, as we were talking about, the win conditions were there. That initially, obviously, LA Tech, they win the series, they go in, but the destiny wasn't always in their grasp. They at least had to at least, like, kind of almost become the biggest Crimson Gaming roster fanboys that we've ever seen in our lives, even more than Carter, right? Like, you have to almost, like, look at the squad and be like, you guys have to win. It went to a map 5, and Redbirds lost, and now they're not in the playoffs? That's even crazier to me, given how LA Tech, not only did they lose that map 5 round 11 versus Redbirds last week, but then they also look pretty darn good in some instances here versus Oklahoma Christian, who seem like a very different Eagles roster than what we have been talking about and have seen through the early goings of the CCL this year for 2022. So definitely big spots to be filled. A lot of VOD has to be watched. Wipe away the tears, Bulldogs, because we'll see you in the double Elam bracket.
Dude, I had to pull up the Twitch stream to watch it because we're on a delay, and you could see the visible moment of of when I realized, when I read through, I was like, what am I reading? No way, that's crazy. Let's take a look at the map count real quick just to see exactly how this one had fared. What a series it was, honestly. Really, from start, I won't say from start to finish, but from map 2 on, it was a good series. 250-104 the opener, as Oklahoma Christian was looking really solid in the respawn pretty much all the way throughout. Search and destroy a battleground in map number 2. And then the Tuscan Control, the Bocage Hardpoint, both very tight and narrow affairs. And honestly speaking, I still have to go back to, like, LA Tech. I mean, we kind of tallied it up. I mean, you for sure tallied it up. Mentally, I tried to tally it up. LA Tech should have had round 5.
No, I wrote it down. It was right.
So I don't really know what has happened. They almost just completely threw away the huge advantage in map 3, but it doesn't matter. You're in playoffs. It's crazy.
I don't know what else to say, man. Like, when I have to count past 20, I take off my socks, and I even have to start counting different limbs, right? Because, like, that's just a digit too far for me. But look, they had the round lead. It was 10-9. All right, like, we should have very much have been over in 4, but it doesn't matter. Look, again, Eagles, they win the series. They at least shut me up as far as maybe they could do something different than just running through the map rampantly as far as Search and Destroy is concerned and just scraping by the win and at least show some good discipline in the Search and Destroy. But even more so than that, LA Tech impressed me. I will say that much. Specifically in the Bocage Hardpoint. I'm looking at Sampy, and I know Twitch chat's going to start going crazy with their frog emotes. I still don't know why that's even a thing. I don't necessarily care. but even still, it's one of those things that Sampy has been the glue for this roster continuously. That it continuously opens up the offerings that you do have, Will, in Holtroll that can become activated at a moment's notice to be able to be the aggressive submachine gun players on maps like Bocage and Tuscan. It just wasn't there for map 1. Consistency needs to be the name of the game going into playoffs for this LA Tech roster. And who knows, maybe we might be able to see them play upset to a couple other teams.
Yeah, that's absolutely facts. It still looks like, for the most part, we're still waiting on a number of results. New adjustments, though, across the Western region, as this was our final match overall. Obviously, the big key, we're still waiting on Oklahoma State, Mississippi State. That could determine who gets in as the number 2 seed from Group A. Ottawa's already confirmed their spot. We already mentioned St. Edwards and Westcliff. They make it out of Group B. Nobody from Group C has submitted reports on the day so far, so who knows what's happening over there. Group D, Buckeye COD, the Ohio State Bucks are going to be going to the playoffs. They 3-0'd in their series. They found, I think it was all map 4 wins for them. So clean for the most part throughout. It's a determination match between Colorado and Illini to see who's the 2nd seed from Group D. Texas State confirmed. You assume ICC would beat LSU to be the number 2 seed there. Arizona State and the University of Texas Longhorn Gaming Squad will make it. Don't you well me. We already confirmed, obviously, Group G. Oklahoma Christian and Louisiana Tech will make it. And then a play-in game likely going to be occurring between Colonel Esports out of Nickel State and New Mexico. Pending, of course, that New Mexico beat Oregon. And actually, we just heard that is actually a match that is currently ongoing on Bravo. So make sure you tune on over to that and we will see you guys tomorrow for the Eastern final days of groups, and then we're into the playoff bracket, double elimination with our top 16 teams from each region. We'll catch you for more tomorrow. Till that point, keep holding it down. Later.